very good morning to all of you. At the outset, I thank Social Cause, the voluntary organization which has been rendering a human service for the purpose of highlighting the issues relating to the society during the last 12 years. And in this series, today we are organizing a round table on the LARR ordinance, that is the Land Acquisition Ordinance, for the purpose of sending the feedback and the opinion of the eminent speakers and also other participants as invited by SS Ahluwalia led Joint Parliamentary Committee. And we are very happy to have a galaxy of speakers among us today. Each one of them is an expert in his respective field. The proper introduction would be given by Dr. Uday Chaudhary just before each of them speaks. To begin with, we need not overemphasize the importance of land in modern times. It was stated long time back by an American scholar that in India, once the word land is whispered into the ears of a corpse, that's a dead body, it will sit upon its pyre. That is the importance of land to the Indians. Not only to the Indians, probably to everyone who is a human being. And as we know very well, number of people might increase, but the extent of land never increases, proportionately or otherwise. On the contrary, the land would be diminishing in its area for various reasons. With regard to the power of the government to acquire land for public purpose, it is not disputed that every sovereign government of the state has the power of eminent domain. It can acquire the private land for public purpose. And to enable this, the Britishers enacted a law way back in the year 1894 called the Land Acquisition Act 1894, which was put to use for almost 120 years till the previous UPA government at the center came out with a new legislation in the place of the Land Acquisition Act. It's known as the Right to Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act of 2013, and it came into force with effect from 1st January 2014. And this particular act made certain improvements over the provisions of the colonial legislation of the Land Acquisition Act of 1894. There were certain allegations against the use of Land Acquisition Act 1894, like non-consideration of the objections raised by the landowners, failure to pay fair compensation, failure to ensure rehabilitation and resettlement of the landowners, and taking into consideration certain extraneous factors also while acquiring the land, and almost no resumption of land by the landowner under any circumstances. This is only a list of allegations which had a strong basis. Be that as it may, the new Act of 2013 made certain remarkable improvements over the old law. Today, the Act provides for the requirement of consent of landowners when their land is acquired, and 80% of the affected families are required to give their consent for acquisition of land for private companies or entities, 70% for public-private partnership, and a wonderful concept called social impact assessment has been introduced. This will enable all the stakeholders to analyze the impact of the land acquisition in a given case. Similarly, the terms of compensation have been made more reasonable and with provision for resettlement as well as rehabilitation. And there is a provision for return of unutilized land. And initially there was a restriction on acquisition of irrigated multi-cropped land and other agricultural lands. When the present government took over last year, they proposed to make certain changes to the Land Acquisition Act, the R&R Act of 2013, and consequently they issued an ordinance in the year 2014 itself, in fact with effect from 5th April 2015. Then again recently the cabinet has decided to re-promulgate the ordinance because of the non-passage of the bill in Rajya Sabha. The matter is seized off by the Joint Parliamentary Committee, which is working right now. Some of the important changes made by the ordinance and proposed by the present government have been significant, and they attracted the attention of many stakeholders. They include the applicability of the new act to land acquisition under 13 centrally administered enactments. Initially it was for 1 year. So now they say that the act will be administered even in respect of the acquisition for those 13 enactments. Similarly, there is a provision for fast track process of land acquisition for defense and rural infrastructure. Similarly, inclusion of multi-crop irrigated land for acquisition for national security purposes. Of course, the other issues are like the exemption of the consent clause for certain categories of acquisition like industrial corridors, TPP projects, rural infrastructure, affordable housing and defense. Similarly, exemption of social impact assessment for certain identified areas and enlargement of time for return of unused land and compulsory government sanction to prosecute the concerned administrators who are involved in it. And the substitution of the word private entity in place of the private company also attracted a lot of criticism. And there are apprehensions in the minds of many sections of the society, and the most important of such apprehensions is about the possible misuse of the Land Acquisition Act for private purposes, even for the purpose of special economic zones, so on and so forth. This roundtable conference has been organized for the purpose of addressing these among other important issues without taking much of the time of the expert speakers and all of you.